Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the Orange Bloods Texas Football YouTube channel. I'm Geoff Ketchum, joined by Anwar Richardson. Do us a solid. Hit that little like button if this video entertains you at all, and maybe subscribe while you're at it, because then you could see more videos that I will ask you to like in future days and months. Today, we're talking NIL, names, imaging, likeness, and the state of Texas yesterday, Anwar, making the idea into state law, which now allows University of Texas athletes to officially start making that bank. The University of Texas they're officially out in front of this. They have been planning for this. You have written about it a lot, but it really seems to be something now. I mean, yesterday, Chris Del Conte had a tweet within minutes of the announcement, almost like it had been synchronized from the governor's office to the athletic director's office. It's kind of a brand new day for University of Texas athletics moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, it is. It's a day that, people have always thought would help from a recruiting aspect. It's been a day that athletes have always wanted, which is to be able to get paid for their name, their image, and likeness. It goes back to the video games and Ed O'Bannon and people wearing their jerseys in the stands, but them not receiving a dime for that. And everybody's seeing, NCAA making billions of dollars and athletes just being told, well, just go ahead and enjoy that education. And that's what you should be happy with. Well, I think they finally have understood that, okay, yeah, the education portion of it is fine, but if athletes can get paid off of it, because that's the one thing in this whole thing, Catch, the NCAA just doesn't want to pay athletes. They don't want to be on the hook of having to pay athletes. But if you can go out there and get your own, whether it's your own endorsement deals, sponsorship deals, club appearances, training, whatever the case may be, if you go out there and get it on your own, you're more than welcome to have at it. So I think it's great for the universities. It's a recruiting tool that they've been using. It's obviously great for the players, and especially today in the social media market, what they might be able to do and accomplish just off their own Twitter followers. I mean, Twitter followers or Instagram followers or TikTok followers, to be able to capitalize on that. It's great for everyone involved. So I'll be excited to see and interested to see what kind of deals end up popping up for guys, and then be able to see the tiers of, okay, the top tier guys get this. What does the person below them end up getting? I'm just curious to see how it all works out.
Yeah, I mean, and I think one of the things that this law that the state of Texas has put into place is that it doesn't seem to limit or hamstring the athletes in the way we've seen some laws passed specifically in the state of Georgia.
Oh, that was horrible.
Says, guys basically have to share what it really is like a form of, it's like nobody believes in socialism except the state of Georgia with regards to athletes making money at the collegiate level. At that point, they're the ones that have to share with everybody. The state of Texas has done the opposite. And I'm convinced that Chris Del Conte and the Board of Regents at the University of Texas, probably among other schools, but certainly on the Texas side, I think they have been talking to the governor's office. I think this thing has been set up in a way that benefits the university. If this is going to exist, the more major college friendly to the big programs in individual states as possible, the more they're able to leverage it. This is something, and look, Tom Herman's name is turned into a 4-letter word around the University of Texas, and maybe that never changes. But Steve Sarkisian may not look at this roster and thank Tom Herman a lot. The football fans may not look at the Texas football program right now and say Tom Herman didn't do enough. But I would argue with the NIL, that is the one area maybe above any other that Tom Herman wisely was building really strong infrastructure in, to the point that when Sarkisian arrives in January, whether or not he spent 5 minutes thinking about this or not, it had already been developed and pushed down the road enough that Sarkisian didn't have to do a lot of heavy lift. And Tom Herman, and to I think Chris Del Conte's credit, because he's seen the light on this as well, they've been developing their plans for more than the last 5 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, Catch, they have that leverage program, which is basically supposed to help these athletes get, some of these endorsement deals, kind of be more a clearinghouse, be able to help them, aid them, make sure they don't get swindled, because that's the big thing. Like, what you don't want is an athlete signing a deal that now somehow keeps them tied in for, 5 years, 10 years post University of Texas. So you got to make sure that young people don't get taken advantage of. And it'd be very easy to give someone, 50,000 thinking you might get them for a lifetime, so those, so the University of Texas has been one of those people to say, okay, we'll help our athletes make sure they have the smart deals and the right deals. It'll be very interesting to see going forward, Catch. Do people go through the university programs? Do they find outside companies that they feel like they don't have to worry about competing? For instance, if the HEB is a University of Texas sponsor, and Randall's wants to pay Casey Thompson to be, and have an endorsement deal. Well, the university may not be like, we have like a little non-compete type of thing. So he may feel like, all right, well, I really want this Randall's deal, so I'm not worried about what you guys do. I'm just going to go ahead and sign, with such and such company and do it that way. So it'll be interesting to see how that works out. But yeah, there has been, the groundwork has been laid, the ground has been set. And to toss it back to you, but for other people to think about it too for a second, Catch, we start thinking about, okay, how this can benefit Casey Thompson or Bijan Robinson or, some of the other guys that are on the team, DeMarvion Overshown, whoever. Who may really be the person that does a phenomenal job? Tara Davis. I mean, She might be the person, when it's all said and done for the University of Texas, is the person that ends up with the most endorsement deals, the most notoriety. I believe she's a junior as right now. She might be the person that you look at and say, we're looking at the obvious, and she might be the person that walks away and is the person that backs up the Brinks truck,
Well, and I think you're right. I think Tara Davis I think there's a lot of athletes. Certainly, I think this whole thing gets lost in terms of how it potentially empowers smart-minded millennials who know nothing in their entire lives but social media and the internet and how to use it and take advantage of it. We look at a guy like Evan Stewart, who has 1.2+ million followers on TikTok. That's valuable. And it's almost ridiculous when you think about it, that it's taken this long to get to this place, because when you talk about the NCAA not sharing its revenue with its workforce, and I know that people will jump in immediately and talk about the value of a scholarship. Look, that deal for the athlete has not changed in 70 years. The same deal that exists today for them is the deal that existed pre-color television, let alone pre-mega contracts. And this doesn't come out of the NCAA's pocket. This allows a Tara Davis or an Evan Stewart to get paid without it coming out of the swimming team's budget. And that it's taken this, and it really hasn't been until the threat of having to share became a real thing that suddenly these doors have opened the pathway. Now, I think what's really interesting about, and by the way, there's a couple of things nuanced about what's happened in the state of Texas. This law takes effect on July 1st. Same as Alabama, Florida, Georgia, Mississippi, and New Mexico. Arizona, I'm looking at the Statesman article on it right now. Arizona's law takes place on July 23rd, but then you've got other states like California and Colorado are saying 2023. New Jersey said 2025. So the University of Texas is in a state that's green lighting this from the very beginning. And I think one of the things that's interesting that's inside some of this is there are rules. It goes on to say that the bill says that the student athletes will not be seen as employees, because God forbid they'd want that. Student athletes cannot endorse gambling or firearms or there's little weird little lines of law in here that will limit what the athletes can do to some extent. I know that one of the things I want to double check on this, I'm pretty certain that one of the pieces of this legislation is that if you want to do something with one of these young men, you have to actually go through the school. So the school gets to act as a mini agent for the players. If you and I wanted to take a t-shirt company and approach Casey Thompson about it, the way the law is written, we would be breaking the law to contact Casey or his father directly, or his mom, or anybody. Instead, would have to go through the University of Texas's now system that does these deals for its athletes. Control. And if you can't have all of the money, you're going to be in control of what money can be made. Now, this does keep it a little bit from being wild, wild west, right? I mean, this doesn't mean now that someone can walk down the street and go, "Hey, Hudson Card, let me get my checkbook out. I want to pay $1,000 for your autograph." Like, that is not what this allows, right? Although in a fair market, that should be allowed. If Hudson Card finds somebody that wants to give him $1,000 for an autograph, fine. But there's language in there about fair market value and whatever that is. I mean, what's the fair market value of a kid? You could go to Boise and there may not be a guy that wants to pay $1,000 for the starting quarterback's autograph. In Austin, you might find somebody who finds $1,000 for the autograph to be undervalued. Like, if we're just writing checks, I'd take Hudson Card's autograph for $10,000. Certainly Arch Manning could have demanded that kind of money this weekend. So again, when I talk about, I think that the governor's office and the Board of Regents and Chris Del Conte and people like them inside of college athletics have been working together on this. There's nothing in this law that, from what I can tell, the University of Texas is upset about. This was written tailor-made with their wants and desires in mind.
Yeah, and I think now it's up to the athletes to make sure they make smart decisions, but also understand the marketing aspect of it, because right now they need to market themselves. So I think it starts off how they market themselves as a high school athlete in order to gain attention and garner attention. That certainly may mean cleaning up some things on social media, because ultimately now you're kind of getting into the business world at 18, 19 years old, and people are going to go back and look at what you've said, what you've tweeted, all the kind of things, and some things that might be a little risque is probably now's the time to clean those things up before you have that opportunity to maybe potentially make money. Understanding also that your peak is going to be before you step on campus, because as a high school athlete, you're going to have like a lot of attention, but then if you get here, you don't play. What happens there. So, there's going to be a marketing aspect on how you do that, how you can get yourself on social media. I think certain guys, if they're smart, start nudging on John Bianco a little bit and start saying, "Hey man, I need to get in front of those cameras. Like I need to be able to market myself. I can market myself on Instagram to my particular followers, but I also need a bigger platform in order to market myself. And I'm able to do that is I'm going to get in front of the media. I need to make sure that, the Statesman is writing about me, 24/7 is writing about me, Rivals is writing about me, Inside Texas is writing about me, Fort Worth, San Antonio, everybody. I want them talking about me in all different markets to promote my brand. So, there has to be, and they have to be smart. Like now when you go to a club, are you going just to hang out in a club, or should you go and have an appearance fee? You know, you got to be now. You got to be smart about that. Do I necessarily need to hang here at this particular bar and maybe have guys buy me drinks and I can be cool, or do I need to say, look, me and my boys, we're going to come through on a Sunday night, but it's going to be, the burnt orange party on such and such club, but we need a certain appearance fee. So this is the time where guys have to be smart, lean on some people who have some marketing experience, major in marketing, if that's the case, and be able to capitalize on something that, a lot of people before you didn't have the opportunity to get, but don't get suckered, be smart about it and make your money.
What's really interesting about this Anwar, I mean, there's a lot of look, this won't be the longest YouTube video that we've ever done, but from a philosophical and like just flat out conversation standpoint, we could go on for hours on the implications of this, how it operates. I think one of the things that I can't help but notice is, so Texas passes a law and they make it almost immediate. I mean, the only thing July 1st doesn't do is it's not like June 15th. I mean, they set this thing up so that it would go live as soon as possible, and in conjunction with a few other states who've been proactive about this, mostly SEC schools. I mentioned that the state of California has got legislation in where the dates are much later, right? So if you're a USC athlete, you're probably wondering why you're in the state of California. So what a lot of schools are hoping for is that Congress will step in and pass a set of national laws. Like they want a bill passed by Congress that basically renders what the state of Texas has done as moot, because they want there to be the same playing field in all 50 states and with every college. But it's wild, wild west in the beginning. And it doesn't feel like we can get anything passed in Congress. So the idea that they can ask, hey, we need to get a bill passed in Congress that properly legislates how all of this works. How long is that going to take? And what's really interesting for me is that some schools in some states have made this decision, I think, kicking the can down the road to say, all right, we passed a bill, but we're going to leave time for someone national to come in and make a national bill that we all have to abide by. And some states are like, well, you know what? Until that happens, we're going to get ours. And the University of Texas is in this, they are in the HOV lane of the names, images, and likeness discussion. They want to go faster. They got multiple people in the car. They're watching people go slower to them with and they're like, nah, we're good. And it should not be underestimated that for a couple of years, while the rest of the country figures out what the hell should actually be law, federal law, like coast to coast, the state of Texas is like, we'll just they're like Dodge back in the day. It's territory that's basically non-governed. And they're setting up a town and they're hiring a sheriff and they're just going to make up their own laws. And for a long time, the University of Texas has not been in the fast lane of over aggressiveness. I would contend that this new era of Texas football is very much all gas, no brakes, especially in the NIL.
So you went there from a political perspective. So I'm only going to I'm
just saying from actually making national law.
Yeah, but let me just put my toe in the water here. This reminds me a little bit of last year with the pandemic. And you had certain states that said, especially the northern states, that were saying, okay, we're not going to play football this year, right?
Bingo.
Big 10 was like, we're going to shut it down. The other conference, the Ivy League, shut it down. And then the southern states hit, and they're like, y'all can do what y'all want to do. Play football. And then all of a sudden, the southern states are like SEC, but like, we're going to go and play. Next thing you know, the Big 12 was like, yeah, we'll go ahead and play. We don't give a damn. The other smaller conferences and started saying, well, yeah, we'll play as well. Then all of a sudden, the conferences that were up north started feeling like some type of way, because now all of a sudden the Southern schools were kind of getting that advantage. And there's no surprise that the states that you mentioned, Alabama, Florida, Georgia, Mississippi, the exception would be New Mexico, they start on July 1st, right? Hello. Again, I'm going to put my toe in this water here, but you can see the difference between red and blue states. And so, yeah, so there's a lot of people like in the bluer states are like, yeah, we're going to be a little bit more conservative. We'll wait. But what's happening in the red states are like, this is what we do. We love football. And by the way, if you love football, come play for one of our colleges and one of our universities, because that's how much we care.
People in the South have been wanting players to have things and money for decades. They just don't want to call them employees.
Correct.
Right? They're okay with that kid getting a suitcase full of money and a new sports car. They're just not okay with that money coming directly from the school.
And yes, that's the thing. And that's the thing. We've had it in the South for years.
Yes.
It usually ends up in recruiting violations. But there has never been people upset. I mean, having an SMU, like the South is not afraid to pay money for the athlete. They understand you guys should get paid.
Just like when Nick Saban was on we can have larger staffs. I can have analysts. I'll hire 10. You know what I mean? Like, It is not an accident. You mentioned it. I'm going to say it again. The state of Texas is now keeping company with its state law in this specific thing with Alabama, Florida, Georgia, and Mississippi. And look, and New Mexico.
And New Mexico, which is blue, but I mean, come on.
How in the hell New Mexico ended up in that group of, they just wait. They're like, man, no, but New Mexico State already don't have a shot. Let's just give them something.
They must have really missed Devin Richardson. They're like, damn it, man, we're not going to lose another guy ever again to a Texas school.
Well, keep in mind, the schools in New Mexico didn't have football in 2020. And it may be that law was made with the idea of we may not have programs if anything remotely like 2020 ever happens again. You took out their revenue streams. There are lots of little layers to this. But the University of Texas is going out of its way to act like Alabama. And there's no judgment in this from me at all. I'm only pointing it out. Just like Nick Saban will be at the forefront of analysts and assistant coaches that can come in and have a specialized role and have 30 people on his staff, right? That dwarfs what most schools are able to do. There's no doubt in my mind they are ready to take advantage. Nick Saban leaves no stone unturned. So it's not an accident that Alabama is one of these states is like, hey, July 1st, let's do it. And Texas, for such a long time, has wanted to keep company with schools out west and schools in the Northwest. And Midwest, the Ohio States and the Michigans, the Northwesterns, the Stanfords, the Cals. They've always wanted to hang with those people. But you can see with what's happening in athletics, they're not running away from an SEC ideology right now. They're embracing it. And I think that when we think of Texas athletics moving forward, we need to stop thinking about the old days when they kind of lifted their nose up and looked down on the SEC. Oh, their academics aren't as good. Oh, they're a bunch of hayseeds that aren't strong. They win. They put guys in the league. That's what Texas wants to be. And if that means they've got to play by the rules of Alabama, Georgia, Florida, and Mississippi to get there, they are not going to concede that territory in an already difficult recruiting terrain. And now you got to listen to you're not in the SEC, so you're playing a lower level of football. And B, you can't get paid? Oh, no way. No way.
What's that going to look like, Ketch, from a recruiting perspective? when you start seeing guys, having their deals in these different states, and and you're going to see on their Instagram, their Twitter followers, you're going to see things retweeted, and you're an athlete that's considering USC, and you're like, wait, I don't get money. I can't get paid until 2023, or God forbid. I mean, you're a Jersey. I mean, you may not be in a Rutgers competition for something like that, but I mean, you're talking about, you said Montana, Maryland, later that year, New Jersey's 2025. Like, I mean, it's going to look like the haves and the have-nots. And again, I think it's going to go back to the pandemic, where some people are playing football on ESPN and other people are like sitting there a little with their hands crossed, like, this is some BS. We might want to figure out how to get a football team out there and play a little bit of a season, because these guys are running up the score on us, and we don't want to be in this event. It's going to be interesting from an optics standpoint how long they can stand pat and what's going to happen. And I'm going to guarantee you, this will be the last thing I say on the subject. What's going to happen, I get for all these other states, these coaches who already feel like everything works against them. No, on a good day, they feel like I don't have the best facilities. I can't recruit here. Maybe I don't have like the best stadium. I don't have the best locker room. They're always looking at somebody else, what they have, and say, man, why don't I have that? They're going to look at people in these states that actually have these licensing deals, and they're going to go to their ADs and presidents and say, man, I can't coach here and I can't win and recruit here unless you guys do something and nudge some politicians, because if you want us to win, how am I going to compete against a guy who's got a deal, with Style Switch Barbecue? Or, you know what I'm saying? Like, this real shit, like where you talk about this guy's getting paid $25,000, $15,000. We got nothing. We got hopes and dreams. This guy's going to go there. That coaches are going to stand on the table who don't, on the states that don't have it. And that's probably when there'll be some change.
10 minutes ago, in the middle of us recording this video, the University of Texas football department literally released a tweet with it's called an in-depth look at Texas football player branding. And it says, Texas football is second to none when it comes to the helping of players promote their own brand. While at Texas, a player may be featured in many different ways in order for them to gain maximum exposure, words all highlighted. During their collegiate career, whether it's a game day announcement or a player testimonial highlighting a big win on game day, players at Texas will have every opportunity to get recognized on the biggest stage. They're promoting this. They have been promoting this, Anwar, in ways that no other school in the country has been promoting it. I mean, I don't see anybody. I don't see anybody else. They have hitched their wagons to this, and while everybody else is complaining for however long that period of time, where everybody's complaining about how unfair it is, Texas is going to be very much on the side of we're going to be in the cool kids club and not talking about the cool kids. Look, there will be plenty of time to talk more about this. It may turn into one of the talking points of the entire summer going into the 2021 season. It may impact recruiting on levels that we can't completely like fathom at this point. So just know that this will be the first of many conversations about this topic, as in addition to the playoff likely being approved at some point later this week, we're simply in a brand new era of college football. And hey, the fact that we're doing videos on YouTube now, all of a sudden, Anwar, kind of goes, this ain't your mom and dad's college football anymore. It's different, and I hope you guys ride shotgun with us all the way through it on this channel, on Orange Bloods. Go check out Anwar's article on OB, by the way, on Arch Manning, just came out today. Go check it out. It's all on the front page of orangebloods.com. But look, for myself and Anwar, hit some like buttons, hit some subscribe buttons. We'll talk to you tomorrow.